Next Parent University webinars. And tonight, we want to close out tonight on the three F's as it pertains to finances. How do we pass on a legacy of financial health and wealth? We're talking about the three F's today. We're talking about FERPA, we're talking about financial aid, and the fine print. So, for many of you, the school year is around the corner for your gifted scholar who has already graduated high school, and now you are finding yourself as an empty nester. So, what is it that you need to know to ensure that your scholar is successful financially? So, Dr. Tanya, we want you to take it away on tonight.
Thank you so much, my friend Larissa. It is a joy to be here tonight. And I thank you for our collaboration, our partnership, and just uh, the ability and the gifts that God has given us to share this type of information with parents and students alike. So I totally appreciate you so much. And so I will segue into why we are really here. So let's talk about it. Please excuse my voice. I'm going through some allergies today, but we're going to get into it because it
Yes,
needs to be gotten into, okay?
that's it. That's
So,
it.
so as everybody know, I'm Dr. Tanya. Today, we are going to dig into the most critical but often misunderstood topics for students, parents, and empty nesters alike. We're going to talk about the FERPA, um, FERPA rights, federal student loans, which was your second F, Larissa, and the ever-changing repayment plans. So anybody who's paying attention to that one big, beautiful, whatever kind of bill that is, we see things are changing back and forth every day. So tonight we're going to start with the FERPA. So what is FERPA and why should you even care about that, right? So the FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and it protects the student's education records. So once the child turns 18 or enters college, you, the parent, you lose access to their records unless they give you written permission. So let me repeat that again.
Mhm.
Because for many of us, some of our children turn 18 and they are still in high school, right?
Yeah.
Even when they go off to college, in many instances, we're still footing that bill. So understand that as parents, you need to understand FERPA rights. Your scholars need to understand FERPA rights, and they need to be okay with giving mama and daddy written permission through that FERPA waiver form to access student records. Okay. So, um, and I'll give you a personal scenario. When my kids went away to school, um, more so with my son who recently graduated than my daughter, but you can call the school or reach out to the school, and they are limited in the information that they can provide to a parent. So they typically do not discuss or disclose grades. They
Mhm.
typically do not discuss financial aid awards. Basically, they don't discuss a whole lot. And most oftentimes, they will tell you right off the bat, um, do you have a FERPA, or ask you, do you have a FERPA on file?
Mhm.
So you have to make sure as a parent that you have taken care of that requirement so that you don't get frustrated when you call and you're needing information and they're not, cooperating with you, because I remember being frustrated and wanting to clap back because I knew I had a FERPA on file, but I had to be patient enough and say, hey, I know there's a FERPA on file because he submitted that FERPA the summer that he left. So he was home when he submitted that FERPA, and he CC'd me on the email. So you have to kind of sometimes take them along the journey and let them
Mhm.
know, I know what's going on.
Right,
And it makes things easier for you. So, just be aware of that, and that, so that it will limit your frustration. You're already going to be frustrated and emotional because your baby's gone. But at
right.
the same time, you need to make sure that you've handled your business and your things are in order so that you can minimize, any pushback that you may receive from the school.
Love that.
The second thing that we are going to go into and discuss is understanding federal student loans. Now, most of you have seen on the news, there's a lot of back and forth with this new bill that the Trump administration is pushing through as it relates to student loans and the types of student repayment plans that have been available in the past, you know, 2025 and prior, and what may be available moving forward, coming forward in 2026. There's a lot of legal stuff that's still going on in Congress with this. Nothing has been solidified yet. I was
Mhm.
on FSA, Federal Student Aid website today, and the messaging is still pay close attention to the news
Mhm.
because certain things are still on pause. So I encourage you to do that as well. So federal student loans for a second. Um, when we're talking about current federal student loan types, that includes direct subsidized loans, direct unsubsidized loans, parent plus loans, and graduate plus loans. Now, to explain that a little bit, parents are solely responsible for Parent Plus loans. So, parents are not responsible for any federal direct or federal direct subs or unsub loans that the scholar takes
Mhm.
out. So, and likewise, if you as a parent take out a Parent Plus loan, the scholar or the student, they're not responsible for repaying that loan. Not in the eyes of the federal government. It's not their responsibility. That is your responsibility. Now, I will tell you a little bit, I will give you an example of how it works when it comes to Parent Plus loans because many people don't understand when does a Parent Plus loan actually come into the picture. So
Mhm.
if the student um, does not, so if the student has maxed out their loan eligibility for that academic year for packaging purposes, and you know that there's still a need for like living expenses or additional money if they in an apartment they may need additional funds for living or housing allowances. So, because they have been maxed out and they have reached their federal student loan limit for the academic year, the only way through financial aid, I'm sorry, yeah, that's my security guard in the back, but the only way that a Parent Plus loan would a parent would qualify, or I'm sorry, a student would qualify for additional loan eligibility is if the parent applies for the Parent Plus loan and they get denied due to
Mhm.
credit. So if the parent is denied based on credit, then the financial aid office actually can increase the amount of unsubsidized loans that the student can take out for that academic year. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Very good.
So
Very.
for Parent Plus loans, if the Parent Plus loan is approved and the parent is approved for that Parent Plus loan, then that Parent Plus loan would go first. The
Okay.
only way that the student's eligibility would be increased through regular direct unsub loan, would be if the parent is denied based on credit. So keep that in mind.
Excellent. If you're joining us tonight, this is Parent University under the umbrella of the Gift Center. We have been going through an amazing summer series entitled Money Habitudes, and this summer has all been empty nester edition. So if you are a parent whose child is going off to college, you are encouraged to subscribe to Parent University that you can catch up. This is some great opportunities to binge on some knowledge concerning finances. And tonight we are talking about the three F's: FERPA, federal student loans, and the fine print. You do not want to be caught off guard by the fine print, nor do you want your scholar to be caught off guard. This is great, Dr.
Okay.
Tanya.
Okay. So we that this kind of segues us into the federal repayment plans. So as of this year, 2025, the options include standard payment plans, graduated payment plans, income-driven repayment plans, like Save, Payee, and IVRs, which are income-based repayment plans. The Save plan is the newest, and it caps payments at between 5 and 10% of discretionary income and offering loan forgiveness for 10 to 25 years. Okay.
Mhm.
So um, they are proposing certain changes, as you know, we continue to hear about. However, just keeping in mind that if, and I'll give you an example, if a student has $25,000 in federal student loans, and it can be a combination of sub and unsub, and they are on a standard payment plan, for example, right now, based on today's standard repayment plans, that monthly payment 6 months after graduating is going to run somewhere between 250 and $270 a month.
Mhm.
Now that's on the standard plan. And making monthly payments for 10 consecutive years, that $25,000 would be paid off over a 10-year period.
Mhm.
But keep in mind that over a 10-year period, you will end up eventually, the student will eventually pay somewhere is about 45, $46,000.
Right.
That's including the interest, if that
Yes.
makes any sense at all. So you can almost say, on $25,000 worth of, federal student loans, you're going to pay double
You're
what you
right.
borrowed, right? So I encourage, parents as well as students to review and evaluate the income-based repayment plans. As long as they are in effect, I think that those are very helpful, especially if, income isn't there right now. There
Mhm.
are zero, I mean, you can be on an income-based repayment plan and actually have zero money due each
Right.
month. But because you're under that plan, that counts as a payment, even though it's zero.
Very good.
So,
And
so it
I
goes towards your years in repayment, even though you're not paying anything.
And I know this is a great question. I wanted to interject this right here, Dr. Tanya. For
Mhm.
scholars who, they went to college, they got their degree and or degrees, and maybe they're having a challenging time in the job market to be able to be gainfully employed. What encouragement can you give our parents for those particular scholars who, they're not able to get work immediately after college? Can we talk a little bit about the grace period so that parents understand, hey, you have this degree if you did take out loans, because we believe here at the Gift Center that we want our scholars to go to school debt free. But for families where perhaps loans are a part of the financing of your college degree, can you talk a little bit about grace periods and repayment of loans?
Sure. So once the scholar graduates, the scholar has 6 months from the month that they graduate where there's a grace period. So if a scholar graduated in December, then the first payment for their student loans would be due in July.
Mhm.
So I want to let me step back for just a second and let's talk about what has to happen. Now, back in my day, in some of our days, some other parents who may be, in my age bracket, when I went to undergrad, a part of me graduating was a requirement that I did an exit conference or exit counseling with financial aid. In this intellectual and digital age that we are in now and have been in for quite a few years now, most of that stuff is being done online.
Mhm.
Why is this important? It's important because each student and parent alike should be aware that the students in particularly should log into the FSA website, Federal Student Aid website, and stay abreast and stay on top of what's going on with their federal student loan account, especially if they have any types of loans, right? And
Mhm.
that's important because what it does is the dashboard, your particular dashboard on the FSA website will tell you how much you have in loans. It will
Mhm.
tell you all the types of loans that you have, whether they're federal direct, whether subsidized, whether they're federal direct, unsubsidized. There are also options and alternatives for you to consolidate loans if you have, several loans. Because, I mean, you go to school 4 to 5 years, so you're
Right.
taking out at least, two loans. If you're
Mhm.
doing one of each, that's about eight by the time you graduate if you complete
Right.
in 4 years. So there are eight different loans. So there are options for consolidating the loan into one loan that will be available depending on the student's individual circumstance. But I do encourage you to make sure that you pay attention, you and the parents and scholars pay attention to that FSA website, log into the portal, make sure that the student knows and understands what's going on with their loans, when their expected repayment plan is going to be coming up or coming due. And most importantly, who is your loan service provider? In
Mhm.
other words, what company is servicing your federal student direct student loans? So you have, I think the primary one now is Ed Financial. So I see a
Mhm.
lot of Ed Financial. And Mohila,
Mohila. Mohila actually
Mo,
replaced Nelnet from years ago.
yes,
So Mohila
yes,
is
yes.
the new loan servicer that took over
But
Nelnet.
they are a big player in the game. And again, like I said, Ed Financial. So they have been streamlining over the years to try to get it down to, I guess, so that it's not so many, and there have been several changes
Mhm.
way back when. But
Mhm.
yeah, so Mohila and Ed Financial are two of the most prominent ones that stand out in my mind. But when you log on to the FSA website, it will show the borrower all of those things. It will show how much you have. It will even give the borrower the amount of interest that has been applied to whatever that loan balance is. And so that's important because you have an obligation. So when you commit and you sign those master promissory notes, or students sign those master promissory notes, you may hear them called MPNs. There are
Mhm.
some things that they tell you you have to do. Whenever you have a change in address, change in permanent information, change in email address, change in mobile phone number or home phone numbers, you go to FSA.gov, and that's where you actually update your personal information.
Right.
The students make a commitment to the federal government when they agree to take out these loans that they are going to keep their information current so that they will remain in contact with the federal government, with federal student aid, about their commitment and obligation with these loans. So that's very important to remember to do that. And not that we're supposed to babysit our scholars, but it's incumbent upon us as parents to
Sure.
ensure that they are taking the steps that they need to take. Because what we don't want to happen is for one of the first big dings on their credit to be that they defaulted on a federal student loan.
Right.
Because, baby, when I tell you, they will take your car, your
Right.
house, your clothes, your firstborn. They will knock at your door like domino about these federal student loans.
They will. They will. And I love that you
They are
mentioned
put
that, Tanya. Mm-hmm.
they're ringing doorbells and arresting people
Mm.
behind defaulted federal student loans.
It's serious.
So
And I like that you
it's
talked
very
about
serious.
and even helping our scholars, because again, once our scholars are on campus, they're in college, they are adulting, they are navigating just life as a collegiate student. These are topics that are so critical. To your point
Mhm.
earlier about the exit interview, I know there was something, you've got some experience in that with the exit interview for our scholars, because again, now, financially, they are responsible if they do take out a loan, and it
Yes.
no longer can be mommy and daddy come in and
Yes.
rescue you. So, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when it comes to that exit interview, those exit interviews, and I don't know how all institutions handle that process. I just know when I was an undergrad at both North Carolina State University and at Fayetteville State University for grad school, a part of that process was you had to go to the financial aid office and go through your exit conference or your exit counseling with your financial aid officer. But again, post COVID and all this stuff, those things are being handled digitally online on the FSA website. So what is supposed to happen, what should happen is when prior to graduating, or very soon after graduating, um the students need to do that exit. They need to log into their FSA account, and they need to complete their exit counseling. And it
Mhm.
is online, and once they complete their exit counseling, they will have completely met the requirements that they agreed upon when they initiated taking out student loans. And that was a part of the MPN process. That was a part of entrance counseling for federal student loans. So any student that receives federal student loans have to do what's called the entrance counseling. But that's at the beginning of the process. And likewise, at the end of the process and at the end of completing the academic career, there is a requirement for the exit counseling. So again, I cannot impress upon our scholars and parents to make sure that they stay up on their FSA account,
Mhm.
federal student aid. They have to do that. I would encourage personally that after every semester, after the completion of every semester, that they log into their FSA account so that they will know each semester, okay. And it kind of helps parents and scholars make decisions about how much do I really need in federal student loans or in loans in general.
Mhm.
And I will say, if you don't need it, don't borrow it,
Yes.
because it could become a financial burden on the back end.
So good. So
So
good.
you touched on something. You had a comment, Larissa, regarding income, and our kids haven't hit their stride yet. They haven't gotten settled in a career, yet that's paying, um, consistent, dividends right now. So
Mhm.
they're kind of still finding their way. And sometimes that extends past that 6-month grace period. But this is why staying up on the FSA account is very critical, because this that 6 month grace period is also the period where you can kind of, the students and parents can kind of see, okay, haven't landed anything solid just yet. Maybe just out of, sheer precaution, let's go ahead and get on like an income-based repayment plan, because right now I don't have a comfortable enough gauge on what my financial outlook is going to be on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and set yourself up on an income-based repayment plan. Even if at some point when you get hired and you start earning or making more money, believe me, they're gonna know when you make money, because you're gonna file those income taxes. And
Mm-hmm.
honey, they own you like a baby rash. So it's nothing that
Right.
you're gonna do that they're not gonna know about. So
Yeah.
they're going to know. And typically, under the old repayment plans, you have to recertify those every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, in doing that, a part of one of the tools is the IRS Data Retrieval Toolkit, which you
Yeah.
use the same as you use for doing the FAFSA, right? So that kind of works the same way. So if you're earning income, they're going to know. I like to tell people to be proactive. Don't let them come for you without
Right.
you sending for them. So
Mm-hmm.
you go ahead and be proactive in getting your financial stuff situated with FSA, so that you don't have to worry about going into default and things like that. Because listen, and my experience as a regional CFO for Kaplan Higher Education, in that role, I was able to see how devastating student loan defaulting can be
Right.
to an individual that's just trying to start out in their career or in their life, right?
Right.
When you default on a student loan and you are more than 180 days past due, you have yourself a real problem at that point,
Right.
a real problem. And let me be clear, you can go to 5 or 6 different schools and take loans out. The system is so integrated now that they can see all 5 schools that you attended, and they know the amount of loans that you took out if you did, and they know how much. So, unlike the days of the past where people my age that was in school, my age, I knew people that would bounce from college to college to college getting student loan refunds. And
Mm.
back then, the system was not integrated. And that's
Mm.
how they were able to do that,
Right.
because the schools didn't have a network where they were talking.
Right.
Well, now they have a network where they talk, and it's one consolidated network, and they know, which is why now you can't leave one institution and go and try to enroll in another institution with a balance that's
Mm-hmm.
remaining at those previous institutions. You
Right.
have to clear those balances, or you can't attend any school that
Mm.
receives Title IV funding.
And this is information that is critical, especially if you are the parent of a gifted scholar who will be a first generation college student.
Exactly. So that's important. And I think that, just again, I cannot impress upon you how important staying up to date on the FSA website, remembering what your responsibilities are, and taking care of your business, because
Yeah.
you don't as long in my experience, and I've used to tell students all the time, I get that things happen and I get that life happens, but just keep them informed about what's going on, what life changes are happening.
Hmm.
If you employed today and you become unemployed next month, keep them posted and they will work with you. They will work with you. But you have to make sure that you keep them posted on what's going on in your life events that affect your ability or impact your ability or inability to repay your student loans. Yes, communication is key. It is
Right.
critical.
It is. It is.
And and there are different types of things that could pause your loans. Your loans could be paused under forbearances. There are different types of forbearances. There are deferments. There are different type of deferments. The most common deferment is called an in-school deferment. So
Mm-hmm.
if you stop attending school, you graduate, you got your 6 month grace period, and you say, "Hey, I'm going back to school in the fall." Well, you know, if you graduated in December, your payment's going to be due in July. Communicate. You should have
Yes.
already been enrolled in the institution you're going to attend in the fall.
Right.
So by you being enrolled already, that should be in the system, which means that FSA can see that you are enrolled in school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That you would then go under what's called in-school deferment.
Okay.
Your loans will pause
Mm-hmm.
and you will not incur any interest or
Yeah.
anything like that because now you are back in school. And when I say pause, it pauses.
Yeah.
Unlike forbearances, interest continues to accrue with most forbearances. But a
Oh,
deferment is different. And an in school deferment is the best kind of deferment.
right. 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 And this is so rich because it's critical for our parents, Dr. Tanya, to understand the lingo, understand the terminology surrounding loans, surrounding repayment, and again, partnering with your scholar because now
Yes,
that young man or young woman hits 18, they are seen as a young adult and they are now
yes,
responsible to already know these things. And to your point earlier, knowledge is power. Understanding these concepts about deferment, grace period, forbearance, etc., is critical to ensure that your financial health in the form of
yes,
credit score is not
yes,
negatively impacted because of ignorance.
exactly, exactly. So, um, so next we'll go into what all happens and comes after that, right? So let's talk about the responsibilities. So we have the student versus parent responsibilities. And it's pretty simple, right? So students must understand, like I've been saying this evening, their loans and repayment options, staying on top of FSA, frequently checking their FSA account, knowing what their balances are looking like, being able to make good judgments decisions about moving forward each semester and subsequent semesters with how much they plan or intend to borrow, how much they can afford to borrow, depending on their situations. Parents need to understand their liability for Parent Plus loans and not sacrifice their financial futures. Now,
Mhm,
just for a second, my fellow empty nesters, when I say not sacrificing their financial futures, we talked about that in a previous segment.
mhm.
It's time for empty nesters to be empty nesters. It's
Yeah.
time for empty nesters to focus on them, their futures, and their retirements. So I say that to say if it's not a critical need or something that the scholar truly needs by way of loans, be mindful and be very careful about taking on Parent Plus loans because those Parent Plus loans are all on you as a parent.
Mhm.
They are all on you. Don't expect to go take out a Parent Plus loan and then tell the scholar, oh, well, I'm going to take this loan out for you, but when you graduate, you going to make these payments. That's not fair.
Right.
That's not fair to you. And it's technically not fair to the scholar. We talked about the responsibility of the scholars to look at, you know, income, in school income, federal work study income, getting a part-time job income to kind of help finance their education. So this is why I think that it's important that parents not get caught up into taking out these parent plus loans, and the students and the scholars and the parents need to have conversations together so that it makes sense about the amount that is estimated that you need to borrow. That way you can make better decisions
Yeah.
financially for
Yeah.
both parties, the scholars and the parent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that.
So one of the things, or a few, couple things that for families, and empty nesters alike, get with your scholar and create finance agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the institution, sit down and talk about how much it costs to attend school each semester or for an academic year. And look at how much of that is going to be funded through scholarships and grants.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
will get you to the gap we call gap in financial aid, and what that gap amount looks like. Together, you should be able to make some decisions,
Mm-hmm.
some financially sound decisions
Yes.
about the amount that needs to be borrowed,
Yes.
about who your support system is. We talked about support systems. We talked about grandparents being support systems sometimes. We talked about older siblings being financial support systems. It could be cousins, aunts, or uncles. If you're good students and you make good grades, that's why it's important to celebrate and cheer our scholars on through social media so
Right.
that extended family that live in other states know how well we're doing academically,
Right.
so that when we get to this point, we could say, oh, well, um, you may have an aunt or an uncle that want to give you $1,000 for an
Mm-hmm.
academic year,
Right.
or a sibling that's willing or able to give you, $500 or $1,000. So you have financial support systems that we don't even think about tapping into. And
Mm-hmm.
if your gap is $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000, depending on how many financial supporters you have, there may not be a need for you to rely on financial aid to close the financial aid gap. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
That makes sense. It makes me think about um, way back in the day when it was time to fill out for the FAFSA in high school. There was a
Hmm.
portion on the FAFSA which still exists called the EFC, the Estimated
Yes,
Family Contribution.
family contribution.
And I
Hmm.
think this conversation is so great about, how do we close the financial gap, which is why we're so passionate at the Gift Center to ensure that, finances should not be the hindrance to you going to your dream school. If we're having these conversations, you're doing the AP classes, you're getting college credit, you're getting
Yeah.
scholarships, you have the support system. You can go to your dream
Hmm.
school for free. There should not be a need to go into debt to go to your dream school, your top school. So these conversations I think are so rich. I don't think enough families are having them. And I think this really brings a lot of language to our scholars early on. Like, okay, if in eighth grade, I'm going to Juilliard. Okay, nothing wrong with Juilliard. If God has
Hmm.
graced you in the arts and that's your mountain of influence, well, we are preparing for Juilliard so that by the time we fill out that
Right.
that gap, that EFC will be zero.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned EFC. So let me explain EFC, because a lot of parents sometimes when the student aid report, the SAR, comes through, you see a EFC. The EFC is not a dollar amount that the family is expected to pay. So I want to make that clarification and make sure that, everybody understands the EFC is a factor. It's simply a factor. So with that factor, let's say the EFC based on family income may be the EFC may be um if it's 14,000 and that number is 14,000, it's not that that family is expected to pay $14,000 to support the scholar's education. That's a factor that has more to do with um everything, all factors. Okay, again, family income, family size affects EFC. So keep that in mind, that if you see 14 or 15,000, the number on as a EFC, it's not that you have to pay $14,000 out of pocket. That's not
Mhm.
what that means. So
Right.
I don't want parents or scholars to confuse exactly what that means. EFC does mean, it is the acronym for estimated family contribution, but that EFC number that's reported on the SAR is not a dollar amount. It's just a factor. It's a
Hmm.
numerical factor that is used in calculating the eligibility for the student as it
Yeah.
relates to overall total financial aid.
I love that. So good. So good. And I know we've got about 15 minutes, about 10,
Mhm.
15 minutes left on tonight. And this has been so rich. We want to be able to allow families to be able to ask questions. So I'm going to share the screen now, Dr. Tanya, with our college finance checklist. I think this is a great
Mhm.
segue for us since we are on the conversation of, having those financial conversations, those finance agreements. And this is great for, again, our empty nesters who maybe this is your last year with your scholar. They'll be going off to
Mhm.
college this time next year, or perhaps they have already left. You've already dropped them off to campus this summer and you are coming back to an empty home. Kind of take us through this list, Dr. Tanya, as kind of our last wrap up for our college finance checklist.
All right, awesome. So, some of the things to consider um, when it comes to our scholars going off to college is, can you pull it back? Put it, okay. It's so before college begins, obviously we know we have to complete the FAFSA and confirm submission. Once you do all of that, you will receive a SAR. And I just mentioned the SAR, which is the student aid report. And that SAR, again, is the document that actually gives you that EFC, or the estimated family contribution number. So
Mhm.
that's where you will actually see that. And then this gives you the opportunity, once you get the SAR, it gives you that EFC number. The EFC number tells you that somewhere along there's going to be some type of gap. That's always an indicator. It could be very small. It could be, it might be, a couple $1,000s, depending on, each particular situation.
Mhm.
But what this is is a precursor to is, now, okay, I have an EFC, and I have to now look at scholarships and grants. So
Mhm.
this is the time you start applying to scholarships and grants. This is the time that you start putting in a little bit of work on, you know, getting these applications in, searching for scholarships based on your major, based on different quirks you may have, based on, I mean, there are scholarships out there if you have a dimple, if you have dimples, if you are left-handed, if you, so you have to do the work. Scholars have to do the work and
Right.
apply for scholarships and different grants. Internships, looking at, different employers,
Yeah.
government agencies, based on what your major is, have all types of scholarships out there. I remember back when I was, with Kaplan Higher Ed, and we actually built a brand new nursing school downtown Atlanta. And nursing students automatically they had to do a 500-word essay to get a $5,000 scholarship just for nursing students.
Wow. Yep.
So it is, and now with AI and all this, you know
Hmm.
chat GTPs and different things that help students craft
Yes.
quickly.
Uh-huh.
They it's no excuse, no
Yeah.
excuse. Budgeting and expenses. Create a semester-based budget. Include personal expenses. Set up a student bank account. We've talked about that in
Hmm.
our two previous segments. um, and compare, emergency fund sources. If something happens, we talked about, what if stuff happens.
Sure.
I shared the fact that we left and had to evacuate with Hurricane Katrina.
Hmm.
Look at when Texas, the grid went down in Texas. What about all the kids who were in school in certain parts of Texas? I
Sure.
want my kid to come home if they're somewhere like that.
That's
What are
right.
we going to do? Where are the funds going to come from if we have to get our kids home in an emergency? We should be thinking about those things. We just tonight discuss loans and repayments.
Yeah.
Understand the federal loan types. Understand what types of loans you are incurring. Direct loans, direct subsidized loans versus unsubsidized loans. With subsidized loans, the interest doesn't start ticking when you incur the loans. With unsub loans, you start incurring interest right away. That's a
Hmm.
big difference.
Yeah.
That is a humongous difference. Know your loan servicer and account login,
Yes.
communication, staying on top of your portal on the FSA website. Sometimes you may have a service provider right now. Next year, it might be somebody else. You
That's
might have Mohila right now. It might be Ed Financial next year. So that's how you stay on top of those things. Signing the master promissory note, the MPNs. You do all of that at the beginning. So that's kind of at the entrance part
right.
when you first take out your student loans. And you have to, like I said before, complete the entrance counseling.
Right.
That's done on FSA website as well now. And then as you start approaching graduation, you need to complete your exit counseling. That tells you who you are expected to pay once your 6-month repayment grace period is up. It gives you the information on how to pay, where to pay. Um, you also will, review your repayment plan options. If you know you're not in a financial position to start making, repayments, that's when you start asking for special repayment plans,
Hmm.
income based,
Yeah.
repayment plans and things like that. So you do all of that on the FSA website. So again, if you lose your job, communicate.
Yeah.
If you move, communicate what that new address is. If you get a new phone number, communicate how can the Federal Department of Education contact you now? What's your new phone number? What's your new email address?
Yes.
And most importantly, just continue, make sure that you update your contact information with your loan servicer.
Hmm.
Keep your information current and keep in contact with them, and they will work with you.
Yes. Yes. Communication is definitely the key,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
critical for our scholars because again they've got to stay on top of these things. They've got to be organized, and now we're giving parents some ammunition. We're giving them some language to be able to
Right.
ask their scholar, "Hey, did you do your exit counseling?" Well, if you don't know what exit
Exactly.
counseling is, this child may
That's
not
right.
know because that's your first time doing exit counseling. So this is powerful.
That's right. That's right. So, my closing thoughts for tonight is very simple and concise. College is about more than academics. Financial responsibility is crucial. So, make smart decisions now so that you can avoid financial burdens later.
Yes. Let's repeat that again. I'm going to share that.
So, college is about more than academics. Financial responsibility is crucial. So, make smart decisions now so that you can avoid financial burdens later.
Hmm. That is word to the wise. Word to the wise. Make smart financial decisions now to avoid financial burdens later. Because again,
Yes,
as we shared in our earlier sessions at the start of the spring, how much finances impacts every facet of life. And we want to help our scholars have a leg up on
yes,
building wealth and building a financial legacy. And that is contingent upon having financial knowledge now to make better decisions to avoid those financial burdens that jeopardize your wealth
absolutely,
legacy. Hmm. Hmm.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, awesome. Well, we are going to see. We want to give a shout out to Miss Michelle Hall, who is visiting with us on today from the Facebook house. We've got Miss
Awesome.
Jocelyn, one of our Gift Center families, with us tonight. So, if our parents, if you want to type in the chat box, private chat, if you have any questions, you can send it on Facebook. But if you have a question, we've got about 2 minutes to be able to respond. Hey, Michelle, if you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat. We'd love to respond to you on tonight. We've got about 5 more minutes remaining, but this has been so rich. So if this has been a blessing, type it in the chat box, our Facebook side of the house. Type in that this has been helpful because we want this to be invaluable to our Gift Center Parent University community.
And I want to give a special shout out to my friend Michelle Paul. Michelle and we go way back to what, 2000 or 2000. She and I were assistant state auditors together for the state of North Carolina. And our career paths have paralleled so much. I left the state auditor's office and became the budget director at Fayetteville State University. Michelle followed, and Michelle became the assistant controller for Fayetteville State University, and eventually the controller. And she continued to progress. My family PCS, and we left Fayetteville and had to transition to Louisiana, and my girl continued to. Uh, excel, and her career trajectory continued to rise, and I'm so proud of her. She is an entrepreneur in her own right now, and so thank you for watching and joining us, Michelle.
Yes,
I
thank you.
appreciate it. Michelle and I have collaborated and had a great conversation about various things as it relates to entrepreneurship and teaching financial literacy and things like that. So please check her out. I will share her information as well, because I
Sure.
don't have it right now, but she is a wealth of knowledge as well. And so I'm thankful for individuals like her who share and encourage and support others
I
that are trying to do the same thing as it relates to financial literacy and awareness.
I love it. Well, thank you, Michelle. We are so honored that you would join us tonight, and we're so thankful that this information was definitely an encouragement to you. And we want to thank every Gift Set and Parent University parent, family, friend, and community partner who was able to join us tonight. We understand it's back to school season for some, and so we want to encourage all of our empty nesters. God bless you. Thank you for a job
Yes.
well done. You did it. This child is in college now. You did it. So
Yay!
praying that you enjoy this new season. of just a new chapter for you financially as a parent. We want to give a special shout out to Dr. Tanya. We
Thank
love
you.
Dr. Tanya. You are incredible. You are such a well of knowledge. Love and honor you. So grateful that we could do this together. For those who want to find out, I'd really like to know a little bit more about, financial wealth building for myself as an empty nester. Maybe it's time that, the Lord is leading you to get your house in order. Please check
Right.
out Dr. Tanya. She is the CEO of TSJ Financial Services and Consulting. Her website is tsjfinancial.com. And the wealth of knowledge that she's given tonight is just a drop in the bucket to what she can offer in consulting services for you as an empty nester. So this whole summer has been about you as the parent, the caregiver. You have done your job, you've done your duty, and now it's time to focus on your financial future. And be sure to check out Dr. Tanya, her YouTube channel. It's just me, Dr. T, where she has a plethora of resources for financial literacy, legacy building through wealth. So many resources. And again, we encourage you, parents, if you have a gifted scholar, please check out the Gift Center Leadership Academy, www.thegiftcenter1816.com. We are coming up to open enrollment for next year. So we're getting ready for
All
the
right.
next cohort starting this fall. So if you are the parent of a gifted ninth through 12th grader, check us out at thegiftcenter1816.com. We want to be able to partner with you in equipping your gifted scholar leader. Once again, I am Larissa D. Jean, founder and CEO of the Gift Center, and this has been the conclusion. So sad of our money habitudes, but we will be back. We provide through the Gift Center Parent University, we provide financial literacy. We provide teen and mental health, as well as college and career readiness, and how to parent a gifted child. So, Dr. Tanya and I will be back spring semester with our next series. This year was Money Habitudes. We'll see what we will have up our sleeves. It'll be
We'll
excellent.
pull some together. We got
Yes,
it.
we will have a brand new series for our finances for our family. So thank you all so much. Have a great night. Dr. Tanya, we love you and
Thank you. Love you too.
have a good night.
Good night.
All right, bye-bye.